Let me cut the cake. Let me cut the cake.
Just kidding. We're going to do roll call first. Roll call.
All right, guys. President Baker here. Woolright here. Hansen
Here.
White here.
Oh, go to Don.
Time for that later. Here. Brown
Here.
Lovett
Here.
Sen
Here.
Martell
Present.
McMurtry
Here.
Duncan Senators Baker
Here.
Woolright Hansen
Here.
White John
Here.
Brown
Here.
Lovett What? Okay. Sid
Here.
Martell
Present.
McMurtry
Here.
Duncan
Here.
Exact Treasurer
Yo.
Secretary EVP IVP. All right.
Okay. Approval of meeting minutes from last week.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Good stuff. Alright, Brian has a few updates / questions.
So the Constitutional Revision Committee is meeting this Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the second floor conference room to discuss the portions of the Constitution dealing with committees and student organizations, excluding subsidiary organizations. So if you have issues with blanket tax organizations, that's for later. If you have any comments, questions, concerns on the process for creating a new organization, for amending an organization's constitution, any other ways that clubs relate to the SA, or if you have anything about any of the SA's committees, which include our Senate standing committees and a bunch of other things, please send those to me by email. It's bcb6@rice.edu.
Do those include organizations like student-run businesses, or are those completely separate?
Student-run businesses are not registered organizations under the SA.
We want a picture before I cut the cake.
Oh. No, I already got it.
You got it? Okay.
Okay, is it cut?
No, I just started. I'm sorry. I have these to cut with. So.
Okay.
Sorry, keep on.
Well, then we're going to start with the academic committee registration report. So, Lynn and Hannah.
Yes,
Alright, we got it to work, guys. Alright.
So, hi everyone, my name is YoonJin. I was an NSR last year on the academics committee. I had a partner, her name is Hannah Chen. She can't be here right now because she's doing PBL. So, what we did last year was we focused on the registration system, and we went into detail about how to fix the registration system. So this report is a compilation of what we found. So next slide, please. Cool. So the overview. We were NSRs last year. We focused on the registration system. And so first of all, what we did was we sent out a feedback survey, basically to all the student body. Got as many responses as we could, gathered the data. After we gathered data, we composed a focus group, and this focus group was students of different schools of studies, different grades, different backgrounds like AP credits, transfer students, different, just basically as broad as we could of the general student body. And we got the focus group together, and we went ahead and combined it with ourselves, Hannah and myself, and we created some recommendations for the registration system after looking at the data and after discussing what the actual problem students said were based on the survey. We produced a report with recommendations, which has been, it's written, it's been sent to the exec board. These here in front of you, they've made their edits, and so we're almost in the final step of sending it to the registrar, which will probably happen within this week. Cool, so the components of the report. These are all the components of the report, and I'm going to go through each of them one by one very quickly. So, as for alternative courses, so as you all know, you can sign up for an alternative course instead of your, or just in case you don't do your primary. As of right now, you can't see the statistics on your secondary course, so you can't see how many people signed up for it. So what we recommend is showing the same statistics you can see as primary as your secondary. So students know, oh, should I actually sign up for this secondary or not? Because if there's already enough students signing up as their primary for that secondary course, there's no reason to go ahead and sign up for it. So that's just a little statistics thing that we hope the registrar can include. Next one, please. LPAP, so the report goes ahead and supports the 50% decision for reservation of freshmen, so, or 50% reservation of LPAPs for freshmen, so that freshmen can easily take LPAPs in the beginning of the year and not have to worry about it later on. But at the same time, we understand that there are a lot of seniors, or quite a bit of seniors, who end up not being able to take an LPAP until the very last year, and then sometimes they don't even get into those courses. So what we ask is for a prioritization system of the LPAP system for the seniors. So seniors who haven't taken it should be prioritized to get into an LPAP first, and then it can go on to the general student body. Next one, please. One back. Waitlist. Cool. So right now in waitlist system, right now professors have the option to either leave their waitlist for 2 weeks, or they can go ahead and do a 3-day purge, which is basically at the end of the 3rd day of classes. They can go ahead and allow special registration to take place and no waitlist. So right now it seems like most professors default to the 2-week option, and we're not sure if that's because they actually want to do the 2-week option or because they don't know about the other option, because for right now it doesn't seem like there's any communication between the professors and the registrar in terms of that option right when registration happens. So what we're asking is for the registrar to send out an email or reminder to the professors to remind them of their option to either institute a 3-day purge or leave it as a 2-week option. Next one. Syllabus. So basically, in the past, the registrar has been trying to get more professors to sign up for posting their syllabus online so that students can see what the course entails before they sign up or during the week that they sign up. And so what we want is basically a policy to institute a policy of each professor putting at least one syllabi, preferably from last year, to allow students to make shopping easier so that before they sign up for the course, they can see what the course entails, and they're more likely to be able to drop earlier rather than later, freeing up more spots for students. And we want it to be linked to course instructor evals. So like when you click the instructor evals, you can go ahead and click another tab, and that'll let you go to the course syllabus. So it'll all be kind of centralized and easier for students to access. Next one, course evaluation. So this one's just concerning a few number of courses. There's some econ courses and certain film classes and other courses that we've listed that they've been renumbered in the past, and it's really difficult to navigate your way around because the evaluations still have the old numbering or they have the new numbering. So we're asking the registrar to basically compile a list of all the courses that have been recently renumbered and post it online on their website so that students can go to it just for reference, just in case they don't see the original evaluation. They can go to that list and say, oh look, it's been cross-listed with this, or it's been changed the number to this one, so let's go ahead and look at that. One more back. No, that one. Okay, AP credit for higher level classes. So this one is for freshmen basically who come in with enough AP credit to take high level classes, like 200 to 300 level classes, but are not able to get into it because of the prioritization system that has already filled up those classes with sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And so what we're proposing is using because the registrar has the data to see what percentage of freshmen sign up for the high level classes. So for those higher level classes that are highly demanded by freshmen, we're asking the registrar to save a certain percentage of those spots for freshmen. Now this percentage of spots would be either half or less than half of the amount that have signed up or that in the past have signed up. So it's not like a huge portion of it, but it does give some of the freshmen an opportunity to take the classes that they need or they want because of the AP credit that they got in high school. Next slide, please. So the next steps are basically feedback from you all. So we're looking for any feedback that you guys have on the report, anything that you think should be changed. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is send it to David Tenney, who's the registrar, and we're going to meet with him and go ahead and try to discuss these changes and try to see what we can to do to implement these changes. So is there any feedback from you all about any of the components of the registration report? Yeah.
Two things. One, with the AP credit, I'm concerned as to why we think, or whether we think that sophomores, juniors, and seniors who want to take 200 or 300 level courses should be locked out of those courses in favor of letting freshmen take them instead. It seems to me that the whole reason registration was structured by class order rather than by AP and IB credits was because there were freshmen who just wanted to take the course but certainly did not need to take that course their freshman year, who were able to register for those courses in favor of juniors. That was one of the problems that the new system intended to eliminate. So I don't see why we would want to reintroduce the problem. The other thing is, I'm wondering if there was if y'all looked at all into how the preference system is constructed. So when you go in to put in your courses, and when we last talked about this, I believe we talked about a lot of issues where you can't list the same course twice as an alternative. There's issues with language courses, like you want that language course rather than like a particular section. So has there been anything to look into how well the preference system that's in Esther actually models what students want to do? Can we communicate to the system how we want to register?
Okay, so the first question about why prioritizing or allowing freshmen to take certain number of spots, it's because the problem that we saw is that there are a certain percentage of freshmen who need to take these 230 level classes, but they're not able to, and we feel that it's not fair for none of the freshmen to get the 230 level classes. We're trying to make sure that the sophomores and juniors and seniors that didn't get those courses, they'll still have plenty of opportunities to take it, but it will shorten the percentage later on in the future of those if we allow freshmen to take it, because later on, those freshmen that would have needed to take it as sophomores would have already taken it as freshmen, and then that will decrease. I understand that it's not fair to allow a freshman to take a spot that maybe a junior or senior needs, but at the same time, if we try to tackle the problem right now, later on, we might have a lower percentage of juniors and seniors who actually need that class later on.
So the problem though is with the use of the word need. The freshman does not need the course, the junior does need the course, because the junior will not graduate if the junior doesn't have the course. The freshman has plenty of time to take it.
I guess. Well, is this related to this?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, can they not use statistics based on how many freshmen usually sign up to then decide how they should do a course later, how many students, things like that?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't think that we need to necessarily say like, sorry juniors, we care more about the freshmen and we want to give them the space. But I think that it is valuable that we recognize that this is a demand and that we start looking at increasing those class sizes. I think this just goes into a lot of things where there's a lot of classes that are over, like, there's just too great of a demand for. So I understand the problem, but I think that we can use the overarching problem to get statistics and then use that to make changes otherwise.
Yeah. This isn't for all the classes. This is for classes that are specifically, the registrar has the data. We don't have the data, so that's why we can't say which classes. That's why we're asking them to give us the data to see what classes specifically freshmen are registering for. And if there's an overwhelming demand by seniors, juniors, and sophomores for that class, obviously they're not going to say a certain percentage. But if there isn't, and there is still a small percentage that we can allocate to the freshmen, I think that would be better because then it will decrease the amount of juniors, sophomores, and seniors in the later years that will need to take the class. Yes.
And I think that the word need is somewhat apt. I mean, when I registered for courses for this semester, I was only able to register for one course. Everything else I was placed on the wait list, and then I had to special register for every class. So, I mean, otherwise I'd be like twiddling my thumbs, you know, for the whole semester. So, like, I do need to continue the education from high school, you know.
I mean, that's kind of the same boat that everyone is in. I have required courses I'm taking for sociology this semester that I was not able to get into as a junior. So.
I mean, I think what you're talking about though is that it should be large AP credit classes, correct? Yeah, like organic chemistry.
Yeah, it'd be classes that like you had to have the AP credit for the prereq. Yeah.
And then, because so in my experience, if I needed to take that class and I needed to take it that year to be on track to graduate, if I'm a sophomore and I need to take organic, for example, to graduate biochemistry, I'm not able to register. I just like tell the professor, hey, I need this to graduate, and then they get the end. But if you're a freshman,
It's harder.
it's much harder to like make that case. Yeah, I've never been denied a course if I'm like in
And that's a good point that we didn't put in, that we might want to put in, that it's easier for a sophomore, junior, senior to special register than for a freshman, because professors understand the predicament of a sophomore, junior, senior more. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of great recommendations in here. Is there any place where we can maybe access this after this
Yeah.
meeting so that we
I can put the report, I don't know, I can send it to
It'll
you.
be on the essay website.
There you go. That's how you can get it. Any other questions or concerns about any of the other recommendations, or this recommendation in particular? Yeah.
For you have feedback, what email should we send all this?
Oh, sure. You can send it to NA22 at Rice.edu, and then I will go ahead and get those emails. We won't send it till, like, we were planning to send it later this week, so we can wait until we get all your feedback and then send it. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Thank you very much.
Okay, and now environmental committee.
Okay, my name is Adam Cleland. I'm a freshman at Brown, and I'm an NSR.
And my name is Brian Barr. I'm also an NSR from Brown.
And we're the environmental committee. Next slide, please. So our mission, basically, we're a project-based group. We're all separated in different projects. Usually we have a partner, or we're in a triplet, three people in a group. And we're basically just focusing on sustainability around campus. And we each have our own different organization that we're partnering with, and different people around campus that we're working with to achieve sustainability. And we're also kind of just the liaison between students and adults in this university who have the power to actually change things. And we also are focused on a 100-year plan, which we'll talk about.
So before the centennial, the environmental committee created a 100-year plan, which outlined Rice's vision for sustainability in the next 100 years. It's still a thing. It's kind of our overarching plan, and it'll be continually updated as we check things off the list. So a couple of the projects that we're working on involve water-efficient shower heads, perhaps even ones with LED lights that will let you know approximately how long you've been in the shower. We're raising awareness for, or how long the water has been on. As well as bike safety awareness. We've been bouncing around a lot of ideas, maybe a safety module during O week, perhaps even long-term, closing the inner loop to cars and having it just be for pedestrians and cyclists. There's a lot of different things we're working on.
We're also trying to work on introducing LED lights into commons, like when we're treating Duncan especially. We're talking about regenerative braking on the buses, which is just save energy in general. It's kind of a complicated process. And also, we were thinking about training the janitorial staff, the custodians around campus, on recycling, because right now we've had a problem with all recycling getting mixed with the trash just because it has some food on it or something, and so it gets thrown in. So we're thinking that maybe incorporating a blue bag, black bag system where the recycling all is in blue, so it doesn't get mixed in with the trash that's in the black bag.
So yeah, that's the environmental committee for now.
Does anyone have any questions before you guys sit down?
Have you all thought at all about how you want to incorporate things like reset into that?
Yeah, absolutely. Reset actually provides a large part of the funding for initiatives, especially ones like replacing the LED lights and the low flow water shower heads.
Also, I'm not super informed on it, but I know that H&D has a similar fund to that, specifically for sustainable things, where you can apply for initiatives like that. So, yeah, in case you didn't know already. That's what's funding reset. Awesome.
2013 Student Life Committee. So we're just going to basically overview some of the projects that we're looking into, our first steps that we're going to take, and specific issues that we're going to look on. So the first one that we're going to do, next slide, is safety and security. So the first thing that we're looking into is to improving relationships between students and RUPD officers. And the reason why this is important is it creates more opportunities for feedback so that students can get to know more about the RUPD officers, so the RUPD officers can get to know more about what students' concerns are. Another issue we're looking into is safety on the outer loop. That's something that's been brought up a few times. More specifically, lighting on the path between Greenbrier and Westlot, which is especially important now that, or you'll have to park there. Next slide. Oh, and our plans for implementing this, we're going to contact RUPD and schedule a meeting with the RUPD chief. Next slide. Okay, so our next project is working with H&D improvements. So we came up with a number of things that we could possibly address, and we kind of narrowed it down to 2 ideas that we thought would be most feasible. So the first one were vending machines. So currently there are a number of vending machines on campus, but we identified the ones in Fondren, Huma, Herring, and the Rec Center as being kind of like some target areas. And some of the problems we found are that on campus, a couple vending machines will actually accept Tetra points, where some will not. Also, sometimes people have gotten food out of the vending machines that have been like months expired, so that's kind of an issue. And then finally, just working with variety, because some people have different tastes, so we'd like to get opinions on what people would like in the vending machines on campus. That way we can get that implemented. And then our second H&D issue that we decided to address was the laundry. This is kind of a much bigger project. So currently, the individual colleges are all on separate contracts when it has to, regarding their washing and drying machines. And not all the colleges' contracts are actually like at the same time. So, well, and the contracts basically state that you pay this company, they give us the washing and drying machines, and then if anything breaks, they come in and fix it. However, H&D isn't really in support of this because they'd like to see how they can kind of save money here. One example is that Martel bought their washing machines, and so they own all theirs instead of being on a contract. So we'd like to see how that affected them. But the biggest thing is this off-campus laundry service. You guys may have seen the van that kind of roams around, and it is, you basically give your laundry to them, and then 3 to 4 days later they bring it back to you, and it's all good. seeing some people against that. But H&D believes this would be a very good idea, that we could save some money, and we'd like to look into that. Next slide. So our plans for this, tomorrow we actually have a meeting with David McDonald from H&D to talk about the laundry service. We're going to create some student polls to figure out how the students feel about this. And we're also going to contact H&D as well regarding the vending machines. Next slide. So another project we're looking into is the International Students Experience at Rice. A couple things that we want to do is we want to cooperate with the International Student Association. We want them to look into the issues that international students are having, and we want to also create more of a system where we're working with them rather than kind of dictating things to them. Furthermore, we want to collect data from international students. Now, this is kind of tricky because we want to do this without making international students feel alienated. Next slide. So, a couple things that we're going to do is we're going to contact the International Student Association to identify issues and survey international students to understand what issues need to be addressed. Next slide. And then finally, we have our off-campus student experience that we'd like to look into. So it's just some issues that have been brought up are shuttle services to some of the more populous apartment complexes, places where a lot of off-campus students live, that we could provide transportation to them. And then also we'd like to look into off-campus student meal plans because right now it's very limited. We'd like to see if we can broaden that. So we have a couple things we're going to do to address that. We're going to meet with our Hansen Senator He worked on this project last year. And then we're also gonna survey some off-campus students regarding how they feel about these possible changes.
So,
I think that wraps it up.
yeah, so if you guys have any feedback, any comments?
Questions?
Yes?
Yeah, from what I understand, the International Student Association is still being built. Gabriel?
I've got it covered.
Okay. Nice. I think, I don't know if you guys can work to help them with building it, but like there's no ISH to help you with the project. So I would definitely talk to you.
Yeah, I got it covered.
My man.
Anyone else?
Yes.
This is kind of a small issue, but it's one that I've had a lot of people get like actually angry about, is the fact that some colleges have baskets for their laundry and then some just have shelves.
You mean like to store?
Clothes, yeah. So whenever like you see someone's laundry in there and they put it on a shelf, you can see like a trail of socks on the shelf. Like I've had people get pretty angry about this. I don't know. Yeah.
That may be something to look into.
Hey.
With the off-campus laundry service, would that be thinking that like the colleges would come out of the college budget, pay the off-campus, like the laundry does right now?
So currently, the laundry contracts actually come out through H&D, and this is just something they'd like to do to save some money or
So
possibly.
it would be through H&D?
Yes.
No, the colleges pay. The college is charging what, $6,000 a year?
Yeah.
And so if you got H&D to take the hit, then each college gets like $5,000 in their budget back,
Yeah.
which is.
I don't think H&D would do that.
Well, we'll have to, I'll bring that up at the meeting tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah.
Martaka, we don't have to pay for repairs or.
Right, because they bought a new they paid for they paid for the initial investment in the new machines, but we still pay the monthly fee, or the yearly fee for the machines.
Do you guys have a particular email you want feedback sent to from colleges and the student body
For relating to the laundry?
for relating to the project?
Just everything.
Or the laundry?
I'm sure we can set something up specifically.
You guys
for
can send
everyone.
it to mine if you want.
I think it might just be easier to set up like a
Okay.
account, like a student life email. Yeah, we'll definitely set that up.
Anyone else?
And now we have Charlotte Larson, who's chair of the homecoming committee, to talk about the homecoming schedule.
Yeah, Charlotte.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Charlotte Larson. I'm a sophomore from Jones. And I'm also the committee chairwoman for this year's homecoming committee. So I'm here to talk about Rice's homecoming, Catching Fire. Next slide. So our theme was kind of to play off the excitement coming from the release of the new Hunger Games movie, which is actually a week after homecoming week, so we kind of have like that momentum. And we also like the theme because it kind of shows like how Rice spirit is catching fire. Next slide. I know. So here's an agenda for what I'm about to say in like the next 5 minutes. Next slide. So basically, homecoming week starts November 10th. This is a Sunday. And the way that the week works is on Sunday we have an individual college kickoff, which is up to the college and their college rep to plan. So the homecoming committee basically has 11 reps, one from every college, who is in charge of working with their college government systems to sort of implement like these college-specific events for homecoming, as well as just promoting campus-wide events for homecoming. So individual college kickoffs are going to vary from college to college. Then on Monday we have Mr. Rice in the RMC, which is a new kind of Rice tradition. It's a male beauty pageant. It's super fun. On Tuesday we have an RPC event where they are showing the Hunger Games 1 in Founders Court. So that's exciting, getting everyone prepared for the premiere that's next week. And then Wednesday we have a new event that we're trying out, the Sports Pep Rally. And this is also happening at the same time as Sammy's Picnic, which is basically when H&D closes down the serveries and provides a ton of great food for students. That's going to be a cool event because it's a chance for students to see all the great things academics are doing, or not academics, athletics are doing. We'll have performances from cheerleaders, various athletic groups, so that'll be fun. Then Thursday, oh, and we also have sports trivia night. Willie's Pub always has trivia night on Wednesdays, but this time we're doing it. We're going to provide some food with our budget, and also you can win points for it. And then on Thursday, we have the senior ring ceremony and the Young Alumni Pub, which we did last year. Friday, we have the North and South block parties, respectively. And then Saturday, we have College Alumni Networking event, which is another college-specific event that will be planned independently at every college. And then we have tailgate, football game, Esperanza, which is on campus. So that's exciting. Next slide. Okay, so we're doing a points competition this year. And basically, whoever can earn the most points, which you can earn in a variety of ways, I'll go over in a second, is going to earn a homecoming cup for their college, which is going to rotate year to year depending on who wins, similar to how the President's Cup rotates. And they also win $500 for their budget, so that's kind of fun. You can do whatever you want with it. And basically, you can earn points in 3 major ways. The first way is by attending sporting events. So if some of you guys remember last year, we had people attend sporting events and take pictures of them and then submit them to the homecoming Facebook page. That's how we're going to do it this year as well. So your college reps probably will or already have made an announcement at your college about this. If not, presidents and senators, I urge you to find out who your homecoming rep is if you don't know and get them to make this announcement because the events that you can earn points at are coming up starting this week. And you can also earn points by taking a variety of pictures. So the Google spreadsheet that we have, which there's a link to right there, and also on the Facebook page, has a list of a bunch of different things you can do for pictures, like having people in your college take a picture with their their philanthropy week shirts on, things like that. There's a ton of options. And then there's also like random ones, like winning Mr. Rice, having a lot of people participate in the philanthropy week, and there's a full list of points you can see there, so that's exciting. Okay, next slide. And then, like I started talking about, on Wednesday we're going to have a pep rally and Sammy's picnic. So this is a really important event to promote at your college because we really want to show Rice that we care about our athletic teams, and also there's going to be no option for dinner, so you guys kind of have to go. And it's going to be really fun, a good opportunity to like come together as a campus, really promote like Rice Owl spirit as opposed to like your own college's individual spirit. So should be good. Next slide. And then the college events that I also touched on are Sunday and Saturday. And Sunday really can be anything you want. Again, H&D is not going to have, they're going to close down their surveys on Sunday nights, but they're going to provide food for you to do something on your own. So like you can do a cookout in the quad, work with H&D and kind of discuss options that you guys have. And again, this is planned within every college with your college homecoming rep. So be sure if they haven't reached out to you, presidents and senators, reach out to them. And then on Saturday, we're just going to have a kind of informal alumni networking event. Alumni Affairs has really pushed this for us, that they want us to have something college specific. It's also something that students have said they would really like because it's a lot less intimidating to come to an alumni that's from your residential college and ask them questions that you have about what to do after you graduate. So this is an important event to like really make sure it runs well because we had a lot of good relations with Alumni Affairs this year for our committee, and we kind of want to give back to them by making sure that we do this event. So again, this would be a good thing maybe to talk to we have an associates coordinator, whatever position equivalent to that every college government has. Work with them, that's a great place to start for that event. Okay, next slide. So basically, why you should care about homecoming. A, it's going to be really fun. There's a ton of events throughout the week that are just there to bring Rice students together, to remind us why we like being an owl, to give us an excuse to procrastinate our work. So we really want to like make sure the main focus of this week is to promote Rice Spirit as a whole. So there is a lot of college-centric stuff, like with the points competition, you're obviously rooting for your college, Mr. Rice, you're rooting for your college, and that's great, and that's part of Rice Spirit. We don't want to undermine that in any way, but we do want to kind of like make sure the campus is coming together, because that's one issue that we've noticed is that there's kind of apathy with Rice Spirit on campus, and so we're hoping that homecoming can sort of establish this tradition of really strong Rice Spirit. We also want to support athletics. I mean, our football team has actually been doing very well, and people still have this negative attitude, which is like unfortunate to the athletes, and also just not a great experience for the undergrads. So we want to really make sure that this week is emphasizing Rice athletics, all the awesome things that the athletes do, and supporting our fellow owls. And also, we would love to make this a great tradition. Other universities have homecoming week as something that everyone gets excited for, everyone's like, pumped about. And at Rice, homecoming game has never really been a very big deal. So we're hoping this year to really establish this as a tradition that we can carry on and something that students really enjoy. So, yeah, next slide. Questions? So all of this is posted. There's a Facebook page that hopefully we got invited to. The college rep should have tried to invite everyone, their friends.
Also on the essay website.
And it's also on the essay website. Any other questions? Yeah?
Do you know if the test going to be by Baker or where was last year?
It's by the Baker Institute. So, any other questions? Huh?
Like it's on 12th decade?
Yeah, it's between Baker and yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's like where the alumni thing was last spring. Yeah.
As big? Is the tent as big?
It's going to be a good tent. That's all you need to know.
Is there
Yeah, it's one story instead of two.
But still, it's so cool.
Scandalous DJ?
Not stable. It'll be a good
Scandalous DJ with trees on the wall?
Yes. Sorry, what? So we're an independent committee, and RPC has a rep on our committee who is helping us plan, or basically giving us information about the RPC event itself. But no, we're independent, but we do work with RPC. Also, something I just realized I forgot to mention, you should spread this to your college. The way that people are going to find out when Esperanza tickets are for sale is by liking RPC page on Facebook. That's when they're going to release the tickets. So if you don't like RPC's page on Facebook, you probably won't be able to get tickets. That's kind of their way of making sure people actually like their page on Facebook. So, that's a good question. You should ask them at RPC. Maybe have a friend like track for you, and then they can buy tickets. Yeah. So, any other questions? Yeah.
I don't know if you have any information how expensive Esperanza is.
I believe they are
They're going to be $20.
$20? Yeah, $20. And I want to say there's going to be 1,600 of them. It's a little bit less than last year. So, get on it. Any other questions? If you have any more questions at a later point, my name is Charlotte Larson. My email is crl6@rice.edu. Feel free to email me with anything or to tell me that you're excited about homecoming. That's cool too. So, yeah, thanks guys.
Okay, so at the meeting 2 weeks ago, we introduced legislation about the renovations at Keck Hall, essentially supporting the idea of having renovations there, showing our support for the Graduate Student Association, not providing any fiscal support, or, yeah, that's right, that's the right word, any financial support. So does anyone have any amendments? Shut up. Huh? Oh, Heidi.
Yes.
So one of the concerns that the Graduate Student Association had was that they essentially have a person that they can donate the money for the renovations, but they kind of have an amount that they are willing to donate. And Rice, a lot of times when they do big renovation projects, they tend to overspend. And so the item about being fiscally responsible is just so that we can encourage them to use the donor that they have. So, second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
President Baker. Wheelwright. Hanson.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Jones.
Yay.
Brown.
Aye.
Lovett.
Yay.
Sid.
Yay.
Martell.
Aye.
McMurtry.
Yay.
Duncan.
Yay.
Senators Baker.
Yay.
Rice.
Yay.
Hanson.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Jones.
Yay.
Brown.
Yay.
Lovett.
Yay.
Sid.
Yay.
Martell.
Yay.
McMurtry.
Yay.
Duncan.
Yay.
Exec. Treasurer.
Aye.
What? Okay. Secretary, yay. EVP.
Aye as well.
IVP.
Aye.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, now Larissa and Ryan are going to introduce legislation about cancer students. Hi, I'm Larissa. I'm the senator from Brown College.
Hi, my name is Ryan Kim. I'm a senior Mackey transfer student association president from Duncan College.
And tonight we're going to be presenting some legislation about transfer student housing. So what Ryan and I have been working on, we sent out a survey to about 60 transfer students, just trying to kind of get a feeling for what the current housing situation is. As you can see in our legislation, not all first-year transfers, well, first-year transfers are not guaranteed on-campus housing, and as a result, only about 50% of transfer students live on campus their first year. And we really wanted to just kind of get a feel for how this affects their first-year experience, and just also present our recommendations about what we think should be done about this issue based on the survey. So, kind of to just summarize some of the things that we asked. The demand for housing from transfer students is very high. With the people that we surveyed, less than 7% indicated that they didn't want housing on campus. And also the next point is, according to the survey, 75% of transfer students who were offered on-campus housing were only offered on-campus housing about 3 weeks or less than the start of O week, which means that, I mean, they had to, trying to find off-campus housing before they came because they didn't know where they were going to live, meant that a lot of them had already, like in the survey, they said they had already signed a lease, and breaking leases is kind of costly, so that was like another thing that kind of went into preventing them from getting on-campus housing, even if they were offered it.
So not to mention that 30% of students had already signed off-campus contract by the time they're offered housing. Also, a lot of transfers come from like outside U.S. or like even like domestically, like far away, like Boston or any other like major cities across the nation. So it's like really difficult to like actually come to Houston and like find housing, like actually check out whether the place is okay, sign the contract. So it's like goes both ways.
Yeah, and 50% of the people who responded said they were very dissatisfied with the services that Rice offers for people looking for off-campus housing. They were not pleased.
So it's probably not surprising that over 90% of the transfer students said that their first year experience living off campus negatively impacted their life at Rice.
And one thing that I think just kind of prompted us to look at this issue is that Rice's residential college system is aimed at integration of first-year students. I mean, that's what OWEEK's about. That's kind of why, and transfer students have to go through OWEEK just like any other freshman student coming in. So kind of what prompted Ryan and I is that we thought this whole thing was kind of unfair, that transfer students would not be guaranteed that same chance to integrate to the college that other freshman students are offered. And so, and from the survey, that's kind of, we asked, how has living off campus affected your first year? What do you feel about your connectedness to your college? And people who responded indicated that not living on campus really made them feel more isolated from the resources offered at Rice.
And yeah, so over 90% of students said that if they were ever offered a choice to live on or off campus, they definitely want to live on campus. So add a little personal voice to this issue. I don't think I would be, who I am right now if I had not lived on campus first year. It definitely was like a major catalyst that helped me, make friends, integrate into college, establish myself here.
So one other thing that we asked, transfer students indicated on the survey that they didn't really feel strongly tied to the freshman class that they went through orientation week with, or the class that they're going to graduate with, just because living off campus meant they couldn't bond with their freshmen, but there's also not a lot of opportunities to bond with their graduating class here. And again, this is a result of not being on campus to be around. So kind of the last point that we got out of the survey was that transfer students who have to live off campus, the majority of them are negatively affected by this disease of living off campus. So our recommendations, we said, be it resolved that the Student Association recommends that the Dean of Undergraduates, Dean Hutch, guarantee housing for all first-year students, regardless of whether or not they're a transfer or a freshman, and that the Student Association works with the TSA, college masters, college presidents, college governments, H&D, to gather information and then enact policies that would enable these transfers to have housing, because the housing policies are different at every college. So it's going to take a conjoined effort of all the colleges to make sure that these transfers have housing.
So one thing that I think we forgot to add to this legislation was that, each college has like different size and different number of beds available to students. So what we're thinking was that we should offer, beds based on like the proportions. So it's like 3-4% of all beds available at each college. So to make it fair, so like bigger colleges like Dunker Tree probably provide like 6 beds, whereas like smaller colleges offer like 2 to 4 beds, something like that.
So that's the legislation. Are there questions?
In the back?
John?
Yeah, this is actually just kind of more of a general comment rather than a question. You said in one of the paragraphs about how people who were surveyed were dissatisfied with the services offered. And while I agree with what you're saying about the need for addressing the lack of first-year transfer housing, I think it'd be more productive or also powerful to say that there needs to be just more transfer resources in general, that we need to have probably like a transfer office or staff people who are specifically assigned to transfers, because right now there's kind of lumped under a bunch of different offices. For instance, when they first come, a lot of it's in the first-year programs. The housing is through the admissions office. The academic advising is just kind of through the general umbrella of academic advising, and they usually have a lot more to deal with in terms of transfer credits and how to fit a full program into a short amount of time. And especially during O week, I've noticed with working for myself as a transfer and also working with other transfers who have recently matriculated that it's a lot more difficult coming from all these different venues. And I think it's also a good stepping point that might really force rights to think about doing transfer housing. So I don't know if that's something we could pull out from the legislation where we talk about it and include it in this, or just have a separate discussion, but
That's a great idea. I mean, within TSA right now, what we have is called housing mentors. So, which is like other peer students who offer like advice, help. So, we get emails from new incoming transfers every year. I mean, for the first time this year. And then we answer them with like, oh, hey, like, what kind of housing do you need? Like distance, car, no car, something like that. So, it's like student effort based, but yeah, it's a great idea to like connect something like administrative.
Yeah, can you talk to housing United about how this like might affect their financial performance? Because they like, the reason that 3 weeks beforehand people are like still getting the leases, people are breaking leases for like all sorts of reasons, and that could result in like empty beds.
So yeah, I have been having like ongoing discussion with Dean Hutch about this, and the reason that H&D is very anxious about all this issue is to fill empty beds. So he was saying that there needs to be like some kind of consistent regulation as to like when are we going to offer housing to transfer students, and if we're actually guaranteeing housing, how are we going to like accommodate like the empty beds that those transfer students who decide to go off campus just give up. So
I mean, it could be a lot of people. But like that would use like the last freshmen, not probably because they only had drafted from Major League Baseball. So okay, now we have a transfer student back. I mean, that happened to one of my freshmen like over here. That kind of stuff happens all the time. So it's not just the transfer student.
I guess going off that, one of the major problems is that colleges just lie about the number of spots they have, so they get less people in their college for OE. And so I think that's something that kind of couples into that, but it definitely is, it's all a numbers game. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. Yeah, apparently like 5 out of 11
say they have fewer
colleges.
spots than what they actually
Yeah.
have?
Well, so they do, and then it's like the college coordinators and H&D argue about it over the summer. Then you have empty rooms to give to people during the school year. It's like a buffer. You have a smaller class.
Any other questions? So this is another general comment that I got from a transfer student that I asked for feedback on. It's not necessarily quantifiable, but I think it's definitely a point worth making. And she said that, I guess she kind of appealed to the Rice values at its core, of that culture of care, that isn't necessarily being extended to transfer students in the same way it's being extended to everybody else. And she, yeah, so I think one of the quotes that she said that really stood out to me was that transfer students aren't half students. They become Rice students on their acceptance and should be treated as such. And I think that's a very loud, bold, valid point. That, in my opinion, I don't know if there's a more fancy way that you convert it so it fits in legislation, but I think that's something that's definitely worth putting in there. That they're just as much students once they matriculate here or transfer here, just as much as the next student. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
That's definitely very reflective of what we heard in the survey too. It's just, it's just not fair. First year student is a first year student regardless of whether or not they're a transfer.
I want to kind of backtrack. He was talking about general transfer services, and you brought up the housing mentors that the TSC has. I just want to say that housing mentors are students, and they can easily flake. So I think it is worth looking into having an office on campus of someone who's not.
Right.
Also, students can get really bad info. So.
Right. Actually, so since it's already past 10, if you have any more comments, please send them to Larsa and Ryan or through your senators. We're going to be voting on this in 2 weeks, which gives you time to go back and talk to your colleges. I'm going to be meeting with Dean Hutchinson about this Wednesday and letting him know that this is on the horizons for their planning for next year. So if this passes, presumably this could actually be a change enacted for the next class of transfer students. Yeah.
So yeah, my email is ryan.kim@rice.edu, so feel free to.
He'll be out on the listserv, and Brian wants to talk about
Okay,
amendments.
so from a parliamentary standpoint, there were a couple suggestions regarding amendments. You all brought one up. As far as creating an office of transfer students thing, I don't think that's within the scope of this legislation. That would require a separate piece of legislation and separate prior notice. Because I think that would fundamentally change what was presented today. However, something like incorporating more general rather than quantitative principles into the reasoning, that would be okay to amend for next time and present when it's brought up for an actual vote. And then the same thing for if you wanted to include something about balancing it between small and larger colleges.
What is there? Because it seems like to me that the point of this legislation was transfer students' resources in general. So
I mean, we can't say creation of the office, but we could say that we think that there should be more resources devoted to transfer students. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for all those comments, we can pass those as amendments in 2 weeks' time that everyone will vote on, and then it'll be amended. Yeah.
When can we introduce these amendments?
In 2 weeks.
So we have to wait 2 weeks, you can't introduce them next week as well?
They can be, so, I would argue that the people introducing the legislation can amend it between now and in 2 weeks when it's voted on, as long as those amendments don't fundamentally change what it is. If you amend it between now and next week, you could introduce those amendments next week, and that would still, I think, conform to the basic.
So if you have thoughts that there should be amendments to be made, send them to Larissa and Ryan, and then if there are any amendments, we'll introduce it next week and still vote in 2 weeks. Cool?
Thank you.